Okay, cool.
Okay, go. And it's recording. Superb.
All right, cool.
Good morning, my brother Shiv. We're live on Radiation, the number one station for the Asian invasion. What I'll do, I'll be stream. We're on the YouTube channel for the live stream over here, so
Okay.
I can give you the big long introduction. So from what I know
Cool.
about you, you're involved in Iron Curtain boxing and Iron Curtain adventures, which
Yeah.
seems very very interesting. But we're here today. We'll come to we'll come to. No, we'll talk about that first. Why not?
Okay, no problem. Yeah.
Okay, talk to me about the boxing, bro.
Yeah, well, basically, what is I've got a company called Iron Curtain Sports Limited. We do like so we, I'm a part owner of a gym out in eastern Ukraine by the Russian border. So we do boot camps, like so people from the West, like from the UK or North America, can come over. We got our, ex-Soviet Russian Ukrainian trainers. They will train you. Um, the great thing about it is that everything in the West now is becoming modernized. You've got all the modern equipment, modern technology. Out there, it's still stuff from like 1950s. You know what I mean? Like rusty equipment. All that kind of stuff. Because obviously, I don't want to like disrespect it, but obviously it's Europe's second poorest country after Moldova. Ukraine is.
Yes.
So but that's the beauty for that kind of fitness. Is like you're going back in time. You're going to a simpler time, and you're training. Without all this, all these watches and all these gadgets and everything. I think sometimes those things do more harm than they do good because
Yes. Yeah.
the technology takes over what you're really trying to achieve, which is the fitness and learning boxing skills. And as well, you get to spar with our local boys out there, local Ukrainian, Russian boys. So that's and everyone knows that they're top fighters from that part of the world. So that's what we do. And obviously the one another key thing is the brutal winter that we have there. I mean, you must be seeing in the news and all that. We had 1 week of bad weather, but there it's like minus 25, minus 30 degrees Celsius. From November to March. It's for a large chunk of that period. It's like brutally cold. So you get to run in the snow, swim in the frozen lakes and rivers. It's like Rocky. Is it Rocky Four, the one where he went to Russia?
Yeah.
But he didn't go to Russia. I found out he just went to Canada to shoot that
Oh no
scene.
way! Was that for Ivan Drago?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
They made it out like it was Russia, and even Ivan Drago, Dolph Lundgren was he's a Swede, so it was all totally fake. They'd got a Swede to be a Russian, and they'd gone to Canada to shoot that. So yeah, so that's the boxing side of things, and then we have IronCurtainAdventures.com as well. It's a series of adventure tourist things to our country. So we've got 7 specialist countries:
Yes.
Russia, Ukraine, Kazakhstan, Belarus, Kyrgyzstan, Georgia, Armenia. Get to do a range of adventure tourist things, from staying in abandoned prisons and mental hospitals and abandoned hotels and castles. So it's like a real life horror experience. Or you get to go and spend time in a Russian army base, or just spend time in the countryside alone, which is something we'll talk about in terms of population decline and all that. So, yeah, so check those out. And we also do a football, ironcurtainfootball.com. If you want to see a football game in that part of the world, check that website out as well. So, yeah,
Wow! 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 Salute
that's
to my brother Saint, absolutely sick music producer and rapper. He's tuned in as well, so
ah,
which is brilliant. Now your experiences, you got the recluse retreat, the Russian army experience, hiking, horror
yeah,
holiday, Siberian Sasquatch, and Chernobyl.
yeah,
So me
yeah.
and my other half, Claire, uh,
Okay.
I told her about the horror holiday. She's into all this horror stuff, but it says not for the faint-hearted sort of thing. So talk to me about it. No spoilers though.
Yeah, what we do, I mean, at the moment, we've got obviously international travel is dead right now. So this thing won't be available probably till May or June. Or as I say to some people, how long's a piece of string, isn't it? We just don't know, isn't it, with this pandemic? But um, yeah, so the first place we've sourced is a castle, which was during the World War II. It was taken over by the Germans in Ukraine, and
Wow.
the Nazis used it as a prison. They converted the castle into a prison. So a lot of torture and stuff happen in that place. I mean, it's not nice, I don't want
No,
to
no,
make
nice.
light of it, but you know, there's a lot of people have said there's been, haunted, screams and, various different things, like things, furniture moving and all sorts. So we are going, we're going to develop a 2 or 3 day holiday experience where you get to basically, go and stay there. You stay the whole time there during the day and in the night. So again, it's not for the faint-hearted, because if you are going to do that, you've got to have like sort of heart of steel. You know what I mean?
Oh my God! I remember when I was young, a long time ago. That was, I think we went to Blackpool, and I think that's the worst experience that I had. I had this haunted thing on the near the beach, and
Yeah.
you go in there and there's people jumping out. Like there's Jason and all the rest of that. They even had a Janani, that woman tied to the bed doing the whole exorcism thing. And I
Oh
thought to
yeah.
myself, I thought that was scary enough. So I said to Claire, I don't think I could brave it, but for you, I will go through certain things in life to demonstrate that I'm a good partner and all the rest of that. That I love her and bloody hell, man. So,
Yeah.
that's in the cards, my bro. That's in the cards. I'll be
Yeah.
talking to you about that. So, from what I know, so you get picked up from the airport and you guys arrange accommodation and all. Is that right or not?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, you arrange your own flights and you get your own travel insurance, but then apart from that, we pick you up once you pass through immigration. We pick you up, or in some of the other countries, our partners pick you up, and yeah, and it goes on from there. So yeah, take you to your accommodation, and then you do the activity, whichever activity you've chosen to do, whether it's boxing or the adventure tourism or football as well. And yeah, that's essentially it. So yeah.
But what I'm trying to, okay, look, I'm gonna cut to
Yeah.
the chase, right?
All right.
What the hell made a Punjabi go out there and do this?
I've been going out there since about around 2010. I've been I'll tell you about my story. I mean, around that time it was the financial crash, 2008, 2009.
Yeah, yeah,
I started my own businesses around 2010, as in their domestic UK businesses, but it allowed me to work. I didn't have to be in the UK
yeah.
to do them. So I thought now's an opportunity, while I still got a bit of energy and youth in me, to go to that part of the world, because I had been learning Russian at secondary school, but I dropped it before it became, I did it for the GCSE. So I had a little bit of Russian there. Also at university, I was in Birmingham. I did some Russian modules about Russian politics and Russian history, things like that. So I was always interested in that part of the world. So I started off with going to Belarus, to Minsk. From there, I ventured into Ukraine, and from there, I ventured into Russia. And I've also briefly been to Kazakhstan as well. But these three countries for sure, Belarus, Russia, and Ukraine, were three of the countries that I've been to. And yeah, and essentially that was it. And then over the years, I got to know the people, got to know the mentality, the culture, where to go, where not to go,
Yeah.
where is safe, where isn't, because at the end of the day, being brown, at the end of the day, sometimes it's going to get, you can sugarcoat things as much as you want, but there are certain people that just won't accept you for your skin color. But, I have to say that the majority of the people aren't racist, or, it's always a minority. It's always a minority. So yeah, so I got to know everything, and then I made my base in eastern Ukraine, the second city, which is Kharkiv, which is right on the Russian border. So I bought a farmhouse there, and at the end of my farmhouse, like literally about 50 meters from the end of my garden, is the Russian border. So, and it's one of the most dangerous places to be in Europe, because that Russia and Ukraine, there is a little war, like a war going on. So at any point, Russian tanks, I'm not saying they will, but there's a chance they could just roll into my back garden out there. So, it's one of them. And the funny thing is, when you go to a country and you get a text message, like I'm with EE. So if you're with Voda or O2 or whatever, you get text message, welcome to Poland, welcome to Spain, or whatever, right? You get those, right? So when I go to Ukraine, when I go to the hotel, I get welcome to Ukraine. But when I go to my farmhouse, I get a text message saying welcome to Russia. That's
Wow.
yeah, that's how close I am to the border. So so that's my base. It's a very basic. I live a very basic life out there. But that's how I want it because I was born in London. I live in a city. I'm surrounded by concrete and cars and everything.
Yeah.
So that's my escape. That's my place where I'm surrounded by trees and plants and just a simple life, isn't it? You know what I mean? And I'll tell you something, all this mental health and everything. I mean, I think that sometimes people just need to escape to the countryside. I really think that spending time, with fresh air, with trees and everything, it does wonders for the mind. You know what I mean? So yeah, so that's essentially that. Yeah.
Right. So bang goes my theory of he fell in love with a Russian bird. Right. Yeah. So we had a message coming in when we spoke about the castle, or castle. As Claire likes to say, castle, Dave, not castle. Don't give me no hassle. Don't give me no hassle. So Colditz.
Sorry,
Colditz. Yeah. Have you ever heard of Colditz?
No, I never heard of that.
All right, cool. There you go. So we learn something new every day. I will Google that shortly and work out, because the Saint sent a message over saying Colditz. He's just trying to guess which castle could have been used. Castle could have been used by the Nazis. See, so
okay. Is there a castle called Colditz out there?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. It's
I mean, there's a few castles. I mean, I wouldn't know everyone on the top of my head, but the one that we were doing isn't called Colditz, no. So.
Cool. So, so is it a weekend, or is it just a night, or?
I think we were debating either 2 or 3 nights, because then if we have a couple of nights, I think 2 nights will be more. I mean, especially if things go, if there's a lot of hauntings, I think people won't stomach it for more than that. So yeah, probably about 2 nights. But then, you're not going to fly over there just for 2 nights. So you can have 2 nights there and spend a few days in the city or in the countryside or wherever. So yeah, that's
superb. So what sort of flight time are we talking from London to?
It depends where you go, because you see, we cover 7 countries, so it's all the way as far east as Kyrgyzstan, right? So, I mean, I personally haven't been to Kyrgyzstan. I've been to Kazakhstan, but I haven't been that far east. But we've got our partners out there. But you're looking at, the minimum is about 3 hours from London to Kiev, which is the capital of Ukraine.
Yeah.
I believe it could even be 2.5 hours to Lviv, which is on the west. It's it's in Ukraine, but it's on the Ukraine-Polish border. So you're looking at, to get to that part of the world, 2.5 to 3 hours to get there. Yeah.
Excellent, my bro. Absolutely excellent. So I wanted to ask you more about the, because that's the first thing I basically spoke about with the other people in the studio and all the rest of that. I basically said, there's a brother out there, and I've always associated these places in my head with racism and like a no-go zone for our brand people. So you're a very brave individual. So, no, you are. So have you actually had any encounters which are negative?
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie. Again, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I'm actually a fan of Shakhtar Donetsk, which is probably the biggest football club in that part of the world. Them, Dynamo Kiev and Zenit St. Petersburg, and there's some Moscow clubs. But Shakhtar Donetsk is the club of Eastern Ukraine, which is my base. So their home stadium before the pandemic was literally about 20 minutes from where I live. So basically, I've gone to football games out there,
Yeah.
So which is, you know what I mean? Um, yeah, right. I mean, yeah, look, there's been racist incidents where I've had to, I mean, I can't really sort of go delve too much, but I've had to get my hands dirty, basically.
Yeah, of
You've had,
course. Yeah. Use the boxing skills.
um, but I'll tell you one story, which is probably a bit more PG rated.
And
was
bro, on my show, you can just be
uh,
straight as it is. You can say
Okay,
whatever you
cool.
want, bro.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's been fights and everything. There has been fights. I'm not gonna deny it, but
Yeah.
I've got, like I said, I've got my Russian family out there, people who got my back. I even speak the language a bit, and you know, I feel safe there, especially when I'm around my people out there. So that's all good, and they all accepted me. Now, in the beginning, a lot of people didn't accept me because they were like, "Who's this foreigner?" Or "You look like an Arab," or something, like along those sort of lines.
Yeah.
And then when you explain to them that you're British, they're like, "You don't look like a British person," because their perception of a British person is a white blonde hair, blue-eyed, and then when I speak English, they're like, "What?" They're like, "Arabs don't speak English like that. Like your accent sounds British." I'm like, "Yeah, because I told you I'm British." So yeah, in the beginning, a lot of people didn't accept me, or they were wary of me. Let's just say that. But I made people know me. I'm a straight up person. I'm an open person. I'm not one of these, trying to, hoodwink people or whatever.
Yeah.
So a lot of people accepted me. Now some people still don't accept me. Some people, probably dislike me. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Like I said, I've been in a fair few fights now. As I get older, I know the places to avoid. I'm not looking for trouble and all that. But I will give you one story, which
Yes.
was funny. I was in a taxi cab out there, and the driver he was drunk, and he was drinking vodka while he was driving.
Wow.
Yeah, which is just like, when you compare it to what happens in the UK, if a taxi driver was doing that, it's like his career is over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this guy was like abusing me like badly. He was calling me the N word, and I was just like, you know over there, over here, I think a lot of people are sensitive towards racism, and I'm not begrudging them because, we live in a this is a different we live in a different, the UK is a different place. You have the rule of law is strong here, which I respect, which I really do. But over there, you've got to be thick-skinned, and it's got to be go in one ear out the other, because who do you go to if someone calls you the N word, or well, they don't know what the P word is, but if they call you something racial, if you go to the police, they're going to tell you to, do one. You know what I mean? So he was calling me the N word, all sorts of things. Some swear words in Russian, which I understood. Some swear words which were just slang, which I didn't understand. So we got to the, where the drop off place was. And the thing about cabs out there, they're so cheap. It's like it's cheaper than getting a UK bus. I mean, a London bus.
Wow.
Yeah, it is honestly, it's that cheap. So that's why I've never owned a car. I've never driven a car out there or anything, because it's like, or rented a car or anything like that, because I live on cabs and walking basically. And I dropped, and I said to him, I gave him the money, which was 95 grivnas, but I gave him 100 note, which is like, it's literally a couple of p extra.
Yeah.
I said, "Here, mate, take the money, keep the tip, and maybe get yourself to the optician to find out that, because I think you've got color blindness between brown and black."
Oh.
Because he was calling me the N word, all that. You know what I mean? So, yeah. So I mean, yeah, that was one of the incidents, and that was actually quite funny, because he was sort of he sort of didn't know what to say after that. You know what I mean? He just. And then I walked off, and he started swearing some other stuff. I was just like, "Mate, and also maybe, go to get to an AA meeting, because this vodka and driving, it's not cool. You know what I mean?" So,
oh my God.
So yeah, so there's been some incidents there, and you see, like when I go Shakhtar games, like I think, people, I have had no issues with the Shakhtar fans or anything. All I can say is just it's been pure love from them. You know what I mean? But if you go to some of the smaller clubs in other parts of Ukraine, I wouldn't recommend, as a brown person or a black person, going alone. You know what I mean? Because, you know, but I don't, you see, that's the thing. I don't want to make out that everyone is racist and you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do that. I think it's just one of those things, wrong place, wrong time. And it can happen anywhere. It can happen in the UK as well. You know what I mean?
I'd say,
you turn up in the wrong place, wrong time. You know what I mean? It's possible anyway. But I mean, personally, I'm in London right now, but I'm really missing being out there. I really, you know, I go on Skyscanner sometimes and I just think, you know, when you just want to click the button to book the flights, and I'm like, nah, I can't do it. You know, I just can't. You know, it's one of the. I mean, with this pandemic, it's just, you know, we've just never experienced anything like it, and unfortunately, international travel, you know, and you've got to do the moral thing as well. You know, all these influencers flying out to places like, you know, you've got to be part of the national effort, you know, until you're allowed. Just don't risk it, you know what I mean? And even if you don't believe it from your heart, believe it with your wallet and your head, because
the fines.
If you come back now, you got to stay in the hotel for about $2,000 for 10 days. so that when the heart goes out the window, then at least my wallet and everything stays in the window and stays before the window, and you think, I'm not going to spend that $2,000. And also when you go out there, I had a client before November. He wanted to go to the boxing camp, and I said to him, listen, you're an adult, you can do as you wish, but don't go. From me, I'm saying don't go. But if you make it through the border, then we will take care of you and take you to our accommodation and everything. Yeah. He said, yeah, don't worry, I'll do it. So he went through a land border from, I think it was Romania to Ukraine. And our place is Eastern Ukraine. So I don't know too much about Western Ukraine. And they took him and he said, look, I'm going to a boxing camp in Eastern Ukraine. They said, well, why didn't you fly there? He goes, I want to do a road journey and everything. So they basically, the border guards put him in a prison cell. They said, we'll assess your application, like whether, and the stuff he described, he was like, the place was smelt of puke and it was like blood stains on the wall. And I was like, mate, I did tell you don't go, and now you're in this cell and and he was calling me. The guy was calling me on WhatsApp call, and I was like, how did you get Wi-Fi? And he goes, I've got data. You know, he bought data, so you could call from there. And he said there was a weak Wi-Fi signal, and he was just like really ruffled. You know what I mean? Because he'd never seen anything like it. And I was just like, man, I've done a couple of tours of Ukrainian and Russian prisons, and they are not, I couldn't wait to get out of there, basically. Just not places you want to go, like literally. I mean, we think prisons are bad in the UK. Yeah. I mean, you go out there, whoa, you know what I mean? So anyway, so they kept him there for about 6 hours. No food, no water, no toilet. I think it was about 6 hours. It could have been about 8 hours. And then they released him. And as they were releasing him, they said, oh there'll be new border guards tomorrow. Maybe you can try tomorrow. By the way, they released him back into Romania, and so he calls me up and he says, "Do you think I should go tomorrow?" And I was like, "Mate, you really don't understand Slavic. Slavic is the ethnicity of Ukrainians and Russians." I go, "You don't understand their humor. What they mean is come back tomorrow and you'll get more of this again."
Exactly.
So he said, I'll be in touch with you when when the situation resolves itself. I was like, I was thinking in my head, I told you so, mate. I think I told you shouldn't have done this, from the beginning. You should, because Romania and all these countries, they're in the EU now. Yeah. When a country's in the EU, it is, Romania 20 years ago would have been a dangerous place. And don't get me wrong, there are probably, you could be in dangerous situations in Romania or in Poland but once a country becomes EU, and I noticed the difference because I've been traveling out there when countries joined the EU, like when Bulgaria joined the EU in 2007, I was there a bit before that. It's like chalk and cheese, you know what I mean? The country, you have a certain level of safety because it's part of the EU. So Ukraine is not part of the EU. Russia is not part of the EU. Belarus is not part of the EU. So when you go to those countries, it's Wild East. You heard of Wild West. It's
Yeah.
Wild East out there. And whereas Bulgaria and Romania, it's like if the authorities do something wrong to you out there, you've got recourse. You can go to the European Justice Court. You've got easy access to the British Embassy. Even though Britain has left the EU, still, we're quite sort of, we're aligned to it really. But so it's chalk and cheese. Like people who go to Latvia now, they go, oh, I was in Latvia, rough place, gangster place. I was like, nah, you haven't been to Ukraine, you haven't been to Russia. Those places, rule of law is not strong there. Like, another reason I don't drive out there is because the police can stop you at any given time, and they can say, all right, if you want to carry on driving and keep hold of this car, that'll be 50 quid, please. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Yeah, like that. Yeah. That's another reason I don't recommend ever renting or driving a car out there. Just stick to the taxis. Let the cab driver pay the whatever it is, the sort of, you know what I mean?
Oh my God.
Yeah. So it's definitely chalk and cheese, and that's just, I mean, driving is just one example, but you've got to be wary of that before you travel out there. That's why we set up this company, and that's why none of our companies are in the EU. None of our specialist countries are in the EU. Do you get me? So we don't do anything in Poland or in Romania or in Latvia or Lithuania, because sort of you can do it yourself, you know what I mean, as a Brit or as a Western European or a North American or whatever, you know what I mean? So yeah.
Heathrow Airport?
Huh? What's that?
Is that nearby, the airport?
Which one? Wait.
No. Right now.
Oh yeah. I live in West London. Yeah. So that's the plane. Yeah.
I'm east. This is Dagenham over here, where the studio is.
Oh, okay, cool. Are you from Birmingham originally, or?
Yeah, well, Wolverhampton. Yeah, born and bred.
Oh, Wolverhampton. Yeah. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, cool. I was in university up there in Edgbaston.
Posh. Yeah, very
yeah,
posh. Well, hello. Yes, I'm from Edgbaston. Yes. So what did you study again?
I did international relations and economics.
Brilliant. So
it sort of tied in. I'm into politics and ideologies and economics and things like that. So yeah.
Superb. So regarding family support, regarding heading all the way over to the Ukraine, what did your family say to you about this?
Yeah, they were like, yeah. I mean, my extended family is actually quite big, but my actual immediate family is quite small. It's my parents, and I've got a younger brother. Yeah, as they would, the parents were like, what are you doing? Why do you need to go out there? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was like, why not? Like, where do you want me to go? To India or to America? I mean, I've got a lot of extended family out in America and Canada. So what do you want me to go there and just basically learn nothing new or learn very little new? You know what I mean? Like, now I'm standing on my own 2 feet. It's sort of I live by my sword, I'll die by my sword. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Sort of mentality. So I learned tremendous things. I did things I would never. I mean, I did things like horse riding, which I wouldn't do here. Archery, swimming in frozen lakes, learning a new language. Eating new food. Learning about real estate in a different part of the world. Learning about agriculture, learning new laws, and just various different things. Buying my first property. My first property out there, and buying buying a share in a business, and just various things like that. I wasn't going to do that here or in America or Canada. You know what I mean? People speak English here. People speak English in America and Canada. You know what I mean? It's it's one of those. So yeah.
Have you bumped into any more London lads out there?
No, it's very few Westerners go out there. But I will say this. my city, Kharkiv, in the east. I mean, I'm come from a Sikh background,
Haji.
and I was just walking out there. It was bitterly cold, snowing, and all of a sudden I seen about three bugs. You know what I mean? Bright red, bright pink, bright yellow, and I was just like, whoa. And so I was like, I need to go and speak to these. So I went up to them, Sasrikal Paji, and they started speaking Punjabi like proper. And I thought, oh, I mean, they look. I wasn't sure what they were, like where they were from. But when they started speaking Punjabi, I was like, these guys are from Punjab, and they were like, yeah, we're from Amritsar. We've come here to study medicine. So yeah, I mean, in like deepest Ukraine, not even in Kyiv, which is Kyiv is like the commercial part, but Kharkiv is like you're going to the provinces, and there was a fairly big Indian community, not massive, I'd probably say maybe 1,000 Indians out there,
Which is
and
good.
then this I'm not into Bollywood and all these kind of stuff, but there was this South Indian movie called it's about some sort of Hindu religious movie. It was I forgot the name of it, but it was from a lot of it was I think Tamil Nadu and that sort of South India. And I
Yes.
was walking past the cinema one day in Ukraine, and it was like, am I in India here? Because it was just full of South Indians. And I said, what's going on? And they said, oh, it's coming to me, Baobali or something. It was Baobali or something. That's what movie is called, right? And they're like, yeah, this is like a movie from India, and they'd taken over the whole cinema. So there was obviously Ukrainian people working on the kiosks and everything, but it was just like full of South Indians. It was like such a surreal thing because I'm surrounded by Ukrainians and people like that, and then suddenly about 100 South Indians are in that place, and brother, this is our film. This is our, we waited ages to watch this, and they, the Ukrainian manager who brought it to that cinema, what a clever businessman. I mean, he must have raked it in that day. Like the people that not only were they buying the tickets, but they were buying popcorn and all the confectionery and things like that. So it was just like, wow, what an experience.
So which means there must be a gurdwara there as well.
No. You
No.
see, these people that come over, they're temporary students. They're not. No one settles there. I mean, there must be one or two people that might have settled there because they married the local women out there, or they just settle there. There must be, but there isn't a sufficient big enough community, a permanent community. I think that's the right way to discuss it out there. So yeah, they don't have a gurdwara or mandir or things like mosques. They do, because there are ethnic people that originate from there. They're called Tatars.
Yes.
Tatars, Crimean Tatars, and just Tatars in general. But they are a minority. The majority is still Russian Orthodox Christians or Orthodox Christians, so that you get way more churches and places like that. And you do get one or two synagogues as well for the Jewish people. But the Jewish people are emigrating out of there in big numbers, so there's not many of them left as well there. Yeah.
I'll be asking about that in a second. So last night, in preparation for today's interview, I thought I'll do a little bit of research, but it's just
Sure. Yeah.
yeah. It was, I looked at the 2020 Trafficking in Persons report, Ukraine.
Okay.
Looked at communist genocide in the Soviet Union. Jewish
Yeah.
Bolsheviks murder 60+ million in Russia and Ukraine.
Yeah.
I found an article on that. And what else did I find? I found that Biden's son, or Biden's son, about his Ukrainian gas company,
Yeah.
holdings over there. So I thought to myself, that is earning a lot of money from that. So
Yeah.
I found it very, very interesting. But me at the moment, I'm just studying as a side project from all the radio, people trafficking, the black market, the organ trade, and all the rest. It's pretty sinister stuff, but
Yeah.
yeah. So I thought,
Yeah, I mean, look, I personally, I'm one of those people. I've sort of steered clear from
Mm,
that kind of stuff.
mm.
But y- listen, there's quite a few orphanages out there because a lot of kids have lost their parents because there's a war going on between, Ukraine and Russia. Some people can describe it as a war. Some people say it's not a war, but 15,000 people have been died as a result of that war in the Donbass, which is in southeast Ukraine. Now, some of these kids have, they lost their parents. Either as their parents were civilians or they were actual soldiers. So, is there something untoward going on there? Possibly. Human trafficking. You see now, Ukrainian passport holders, they have got Schengen, visa-free Schengen access to the EU now for
Yes.
3 months. So for them now to get into Europe isn't a bigger thing, as big a thing as it used to be. Like, I think they got the Schengen in 2017 or 2018 or something like that. I mean, don't quote me on the exact year, but so a lot of them can now go into the EU. So I don't know I mean, the people trafficking probably in the past was maybe like a big thing, but I don't know if it is. The other thing which I will say is that from day dot to the day that I've gone to today, the last time I was there, I was actually in August in 2020.
Wow.
Um,
Wow. It's quite recent.
the place is like, it's like there's less people there. You know what I mean? It's just people are just sort of you see, if you go to the city centers, if you go to Kiev and you go to Kharkiv and you go to Lviv and you go to Odessa and you go to a couple of the other not as bigger cities, but like Dnipro and to Zaporozhye city, yeah, you're gonna go there and there's gonna be people around. It's a city. But you see, what I've done is I've gone off the beaten track. I've gone into the countryside areas, places where you get people that say, "Oh, yeah, yeah, I know Ukraine. I've been to Kiev." It's like me saying, "Yeah, I know England because I've been to
England.
Knightsbridge." Yeah, a lot of people, they fly in, they stay in the zone one that we have here, or zone, let's say even maximum zone two,
Yeah.
right? And they think they know the whole country. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas
Yeah.
me, I've been on places which you won't find on Google because you know what I mean. They don't exist on Google. I've been on places where they don't have roads. It's like a dirt track. You know what I mean? I mean,
Wow.
I've traveled all over that Ukraine, in Belarus, in Russia. I've gone to southern Belarus where Chernobyl is always associated with Ukraine,
That's right.
but the fallout, 75% of it, because the wind was blowing that day
Yeah.
from south to north, it
Yeah.
went into Belarus. So I've been to those places where the places are completely deserted, or there's about 5 or 6 old people left because the radiation
Yeah.
is a killer, and you have to go with a Geiger counter. So I've been to the countryside areas, and I can say, and not just in these countries, I've also owned farmhouses in Bulgaria,
Yeah.
and I've been to other Eastern European countries like Croatia and Belgrade and places like that. But um, the place is emptying. That's the essential. That's the bottom line. It's just people see, a lot of feminists are going to attack me by saying, "Oh, yeah, I'm saying it like this," but women aren't having kids like they used to, and that's not just me as an opinion.
Yeah.
That's borne out by the facts. Like, women used to have 4 or 5 kids
Yeah.
each in Europe, right? So let's not even talk about the world. Let's just talk about Europe. And now women are having, on average, less than two. So over time, let's just say from about 1990, or let's call it 1991, because that's when communism actually collapsed on Christmas Day, 1991 in Russia. So that was the end of communism. It had been collapsing since 1989 because some countries like Poland and Czech Republic and everything had, you know, gone out of the Soviet Union, or from the
Yes.
sphere of the Soviet Union. So 1991 to now 2021 is what, 30 years,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So in 30 years, the populations in some of these countries have dwindled. Like, I mean, okay, let's talk about Ukraine because that's
Yeah.
the country where I've got my base. In 1991, Ukraine had a population of 52 million.
Okay.
Today, Ukraine's population is 36.5 million.
Wow.
So it has declined by, if I do my maths right, 12 plus 15.5 million people in 30 years.
15.5 million people.
Million. It's
That's
in
insane.
in 30 years. And I'm one of these people that actually like researches the figures and does the figures and everything. With COVID, we don't know because I think it's increased. But even before COVID had started, Ukraine was losing 300,000 people per year from its population. Now, people are going to say, "Oh, so 300,000 Ukrainians are moving out."
Yeah.
No, that's not what's happening. Two-thirds, 67% of the reason for that is that more people are dying and less people are being born.
Okay.
Do you get me?
Yeah.
So if you've got let's just say you've got a population of 5, 3 die, but 1 is born.
Yeah.
So then you have a population of 3. So your population is no longer 5, it's 3.
Yeah.
It's not because people left the island. Let's say there's 5 people on an island. It's not that 5 people left the island or 3 people left the island. It's just that more people are dying and less people are being born. So that's the reason for that. And 33% of the reason, or let's say 1/3 and 2/3, 1/3 is emigration. So a lot of Ukrainians are moving west. A lot of Ukrainians end up in Poland because a lot of Polish are moving west. So for Poland to replace that workforce, they're enticing Ukrainians. And now what's happening is that Germany's getting in the mix because Germany's starting to lose population as well. Germany lost 40,000 to its population, first time in they say in like 20 years or something like that. So now Germans are making it easier for Ukrainians and Moldovans and Belarusians and people like that for their work permits to bring them west. So everything is generally shifting westwards.
Yeah.
And if you look at Europe as a whole continent, if you divide it in half, so 20 countries are west and 20 countries are east, and we'll count Greece and Cyprus as the western countries, right? Because even though they're in the east, but they've always been, mentality has always been western. Do you know roughly 75% of the population of Europe live in Western Europe and only 25% live in Eastern Europe?
Wow.
And yet it's almost, in terms of land area, it's almost half and half. So 75% of Europeans live in 50% of the land and 25% of Europeans live in 50% of the land. So from that statistic, you can see that in the East, there is a lots of empty land. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just, it's perfect. I mean, if you want to shoot a zombie apocalypse movie or something along those lines, go there. If you hate humans, go there. If you love nature, go there. I mean, the stuff you could do is just, it's amazing. And the thing is, a lot of people out there, I say to them, this place is beautiful. You've got such a beautiful country.
Yeah.
Like, I come from London, there's concrete buildings and everything all over the place. And, you've got space and I can breathe. And they're like, what? Oh, so you're interested in our mud? You think this is great. I'm like, yes, it is, because we don't have that in the West. There's no privacy here. You walk out and there's uncles and aunties that can see you. You can't go anywhere. People, oh yeah, I saw you were here or you were there, or there's CCTV. So if your family or friends don't catch you, CCTV will catch you, or and over there, it's just it's the calm nature. Just I can just picture it now, just sitting in my farmhouse, breeze coming over my head. Not in winter, I must say, then it's bitterly cold, but in the summer, when the weather is nice, and it's one of those things. But what I've said is that's the reality of what's happening. And if people don't believe me, go and check the facts. Go and read up on the articles of the population decline, which is happening in the East. So yeah, back to what you were saying about the organ, things and the people trafficking. I sometimes, I mean, no, I'm not laughing at you or anything like that, but sometimes just think there isn't that much left to people. There isn't much left to people traffic or organ traffic or whatever. Some parts of those countries are just they're desolate think that's the best word to
Desolate,
describe it. Yeah. So humanity has evaporated. That's another thing that is a good phrase that I like to say, which it has in that part of the world. And it's happening in Western Europe as well. I mean, you go to Italy, you go to the Spain, not the coastal parts of Spain, but the central parts of Spain.
Yes.
The villages are emptying. It's like you can even buy a whole village in Spain. And in Italy, in the south, they are selling properties for like €1. You can read it. They said, but there's conditions. You have to live there permanently. You have to do up the property, but you can get land out in Italy. The government or the local provincial government, I don't know who exactly it is selling the land for €1 because humanity is evaporating even in Western Europe. You know what I mean? So it's a problem that no one is discussing. Everyone's got their head in the sand, and everyone's like, you see a lot of things in media. Oh, look at these immigrants coming, or the world is full of too many people, and etc. etc. But I'm telling you, this population decline, human evaporation, as I call it, is going to become a bigger theme going forward. It really is, because we are good at keeping people on this earth for longer. Yeah, medicine has kept people.
Yeah,
we aren't producing the babies, the kids, like we used to as well. You know what I mean? Women aren't having as many kids as they did in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, maybe even before that. And that is what is happening. That is, and I'm on the front line of it. You know what I mean? I've seen it. I've seen it happen. Yeah. I mean, let me give you a story. I bought before I'd gone to the Russian speaking, or the Ukraine and the Belaruses and all that. I'd actually bought a farmhouse in Bulgaria, in a province called Vidin. Vidin, we call them oblasts, right? So I don't know how they say it in Bulgaria, but in Ukraine, an oblast is a state. It's like, in America, you have Washington state, California state.
Yes.
So we say oblast. Oblast means state, right?
Yes.
So I don't know if this is the right word in Bulgarian, but we call it Vidin Oblast, or Vidin state, let's just say. And I went there in about 2006. And this was like when I first got my first paycheck, right? So all my mates, they were buying Mercedes, putting down payments on a Mercedes, or, as Asian boys do, you know what I mean? And I'm not knocking them, but I was never into cars or into, this and that. So I was like, you know what? I want to buy a farmhouse. So I went to Bulgaria, and I bought a farmhouse for about £500.
Wow.
About 2 acres of land. But I'm not gonna, again, sugarcoat it. The actual farmhouse was on its last knees. You know what I mean? It was gonna collapse. And it was my dream to actually build knock it all down and to build a nice place. And someone approached me. They said, "Oh, give us about €50 and we'll knock it all down and take all the bricks and all the things and take it away." And I was in that village, and there was a lot of boarded up houses, right? A lot of I'd gone past, and there was a few people left, right? And this lady, she started calling me Sigan. Now, Sigan means gypsy. Right?
Wow.
Right? And she was calling me that because you see that the Roma gypsies in that part of the world, they look kind of like me, or look like us. They're brown skin, because their origins are from India, from North India, from Punjab and from Rajasthan and all that, right? And they'd moved west over 1,000 years ago, and they sort of intermingle with the population. So they, there's a whole history behind it. And again, lovely people, Roma. I've got time for them, because whenever I'm out there, they always respect me and all that. So and I'll give them respect too as well. And so she was calling me Sigan. So I was just like, again, in one ear out the other. That's how you got to be out there, right? And she, so I thought, yeah, all right, I'm going to buy it. This is a long-term investment, and all that. Then I flew back to England, and I thought, yeah, yeah, what am I, what am I gonna do? What am I really gonna do out there? This is just pie in the sky sort of thinking and whatnot. So I sold it back to the original estate agent,
Yes.
and obviously he made I bought it for 500, and he said I'll buy it off you for 350.
Oh my
Right?
God. Yeah.
So, but I thought, 150 quid, but at least the experience, you know what I mean? You look at it philosophically, you don't think of it as a loss. You think of it as, I got to go out to this part of Bulgaria and all that. So recently, so that was about around 2006, 2007 sort of time. So recently I went back in 2019, and I tell you what, that village that had, I would say maybe like 100 houses that had probably about 20 of them people living in them, the whole village is gone. There's no one left in the village. And instead of now one house or this house being sold, the estate agent was like, you can buy the whole village if you want.
What?
Yeah, you can buy the whole village, because the people all died out, or the few old people that were very old, their younger family, or children, whatever, they took them to a nursing home or took them to the city, or various different things. The whole village was for sale. You know what I mean? So
how much land are we talking here?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I can't say how much. It was big. It was like a big plot of land. I mean, maybe like 50 kilometers squared, maybe something like that. Maybe, I don't know exactly. But I mean, I remember the house I bought was about 2 acres of land. And that was for £500, and that was back then. So I reckon the whole village probably could have sold. I think he was quoting me like something like 15,000 or something like that for the whole village. I'm sure it was. I mean, again, don't quote me on that, but that's what I'm saying. I mean, that's what's happening. That is what is happening. It's just it's you kind of, it's one thing me saying it, but it's like something you kind of have to experience as well. Like you go there and it's just boarded up house after boarded up house. You know what I mean? And like I said, it's not just happening, like I said, in the non-EU countries. It's happening in the EU countries. Like in Bulgaria, in Latvia, Lithuania, in and more Moldova. Another place which I know a little bit about, especially that Transnistria bit, which is a part of Moldova. So that's sort of like the sort of that's sort of what's going on over there. You know what I mean?
Wow, my bro. Well,
Yeah.
I've had messages coming through from Michael W. Bell. He is top dog, CEO of Aurora Eclipse Productions, brilliant at film scoring and all the rest of that. He's turned around and said, I follow a YouTuber called Peter Santanello, who's an American fella who lives in the Ukraine. He's made some great videos about Eastern Europe and detailing how they are generally clean and safe. Then he goes, he would go to a so-called bad area and film his experiences, all of which were fine. I could be wrong, but I think there's a demonization of countries such as the Ukraine from a Western view. And then he says, I think it drives the narrative to get people to move west and paint a bad image of the East. Much of the beauty in nature, mental health and overpopulated narrative, I think, are Western problems. Be interesting to get Shiv's take on this.
No, I mean, look, we live in the UK, so
Yeah.
with all this Brexit issues, we all, the immigration and population was a big issue. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And and to be honest with you, I've been to even more crowded places than the UK. I mean, if you go to India, which I was always going to, I mean, it's if people are complaining about the overcrowding here, go to India, and that's where you see overcrowding. There's just loads of people. But there demonization. There was, because when Ukraine and Poland was hosting Euro 2012, there was programs on the BBC with showing some Indian students at a football game getting beaten up by Ukraine.
I remember.
See, the thing about me is, I'm not gonna say that, people like to, what's happening in the world right now is there's a spectrum, and people are either this or that.
Yeah.
Right. And the way I see it is, they're either on one end of the spectrum or they're not. So people are either saying, oh, this place is completely racist, everyone in this place is fully racist. And there's people are saying, oh no, racism doesn't exist, there's no racist. racism exists in every country. There are bad and good in every community.
Yes, very true.
If I said, oh, all Ukrainian people are angels and all Russian people are angels, that's not true. And if I said all Ukrainian people are racist and all Russian people are racist, that's not true either. Are angel, one or the other. If I said that they're 100% racist or they're 100% angels, both statements are not true. There is always going to be good people, kind-hearted people, and there's always going to be people who are nefarious and sinister and and what have you. So there's different degrees of people. So so that puts that issue to that answers that issue. In terms of
well, he did,
go on.
Sorry, bro. He said, I guess it's coming more from a US. He's looking at it from a United States standpoint, how they paint the rest of the world in terms of
I mean,
dangerous
it's not just the US. I think the UK's done like I said, that Panorama program on BBC. I suppose I mean, being in I've lived in America as well when I was very young. America likes to suggest it's the number one country in the world, and they call their things like the World Series. When in baseball, because it's like, well, other countries play baseball. Japan plays baseball, so why don't you have a proper World Series and include all the baseball nations around the world? So the US has that sort of arrogance and ego.
Yeah.
But I'm not begrudging America, because they are the number one economy in the world. They sort of they put their money where their mouth is. They got to number one. So when you are at number one, you can have that sort of arrogance. But some of the depictions in America are definitely of the rest of the world are sort of what I've seen is just like, wow, I mean, like, come on, America isn't the only place in the world. It's, there's a big world out there. America doesn't even make up, what is it, 10% of the world's land surface. So I might have got that fact wrong, but you know what I mean. At the end of the day, there's a whole big wide world out there. Now, in terms of what he said about emigration, is as I said, the biggest problem isn't emigration. Emigration is a factor, don't get me wrong. Like I said, it's around 1/3 of the problem. The problem is that, and this is what people kind of, it's hard for them to wrap their heads around, is the birth rates. Yeah. Birth rates have fallen so significantly. Now, here's the thing about demographics. A nation needs a birth rate of 2.1. Okay. Now, a woman can't have 2.1 kids. You either have one or you have two. But what 2.1 means, that say there's 10 women of childbearing age in a country. Yeah. 9 of those women need to have 2 kids, and the 10th woman has 3. Yeah. So do you get me? So it equals 2.1. Now, and then obviously you scale that up for all the women in a country. Now, if a nation doesn't have 2.1, eventually its population starts falling. Now, in those countries in the East, they have a birth rate of about 1.3, 1.4, and it's falling. It's going. And South Korea has just announced its birth rate is actually 0.92. So it's actually gone below 1. So women there aren't even averaging 1 kid,
wow,
per woman. So what's happening is that over time, as women have less kids, so a lot of families in Ukraine, for example, and in Russia and in Belarus, they don't have siblings. It's just, they are just themselves, right? So their parents just had them. And what happens is that eventually they think, oh, you know what? I'm not going to have a kid myself. So a lot of people are remaining unmarried, getting to later age. And, once you get into your 50s and 60s, you're not thinking of starting a family at that age. You know what I mean? Yeah. You are like, you might be looking forward to your grandkids at that point in life. But, you get to 60, you're not going to think, oh, actually, I've never had a kid. Now I'm going to have a kid. But, that's what's happening. The other thing which is happening is population aging. So what's happening out there is that the average age now in like these countries is 40 plus.
Yes.
So if you look at Europe as a whole, the average age of a European is 43 years old. And you compare it to Africa, the average age of an African is between 18 and 20 years old. Can you believe the average African is about 18 to 20 years old in Africa? Because they're having tons of kids, and even their birth rates are falling, just to add that in. And they the medicines and everything, it means that people don't live long there. So people die off quicker there, but they're having loads more kids. Whereas in Europe, the average age is about 43 years old. So a lot of these Eastern European countries, they have a lot of older people. And I would, from the statistic I saw, something like 30% of an Eastern European country on average is age 55 or over. Wow. Do you get me? And that percentage is increasing with time. So not only is there less people there, but the people that are left there are generally older as well. Do you get me? There's more older people as well. So it's like a double whammy. You know what I mean? It's like less kids, more older people. And more older people means that, and less kids means that these less kids have to pay, they have to support them either through paying tax or by looking after them, right? So there's more older people. They're not working. Yes. They need to be looked after, care homes, old people's homes. The younger population, less of them. So they have to pay more tax, right? Because there's more people to look after. So what are the younger people doing? They're saying, sod this. And they're moving west, or they're thinking, I'm going to stay here, but I'm not going to have 3 kids or 2 kids. I'm just going to have 1. You know what I mean? Or I'm going to have none. And that is what is happening. So it isn't like there's droves and droves of people from Eastern Europe suddenly moving west. That isn't the biggest reason. The biggest reason is falling birth rates and an aging population. These are the two things that are causing what's happening in the East. And is going to start happening in the West as well soon as well,
Well, how I originally come across you, besides the haunted hotel thing, right?
Yeah.
Was obviously you're also friends with Cash the Flash. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know him personally, but yeah, we're connected on the social media. Yeah.
Yeah, fighting champion. So salute to Handsworth. Well, what it is. You put up an article about Coventry, and I thought, what? I thought, no way, about the birth rates in Coventry. So could you please elaborate on this?
Yeah. Well, Coventry built up schools. I mean, I've only visited Coventry briefly, so I've got to put that out there. I'm not, I don't know Coventry, with a lot of personal experience. But what's happened is that they've built a load of primary schools, and they've got, primary schools with a lot of places, but they don't have the kids now to fill it. And this is shocking, because this is now what I've seen out in the East is starting to happen in the West, where you've got schools which are going to be half full, or, maybe schools that will have to shut down because they haven't got enough kids, because the birth rates are starting to fall in Coventry. And the council don't want to give the data at the moment, because I believe that one of the reasons is that, well, they're probably waiting for the census, which is going to take place in the whole of the UK. I think it's in March or May or something like that.
Yes.
But I'll give you another experience which will relate to the Coventry thing out in Eastern Europe. I've got some friends in Latvia, and this isn't just happening in Latvia, but Latvia is a very good example of this. They are turning schools out there into old people's homes. And that is not a good sign. That is not a good sign. Because what that means is that they don't have the kids to fill the schools, right?
Yeah.
But they have old people. They have a surplus of old people and very few kids.
So the pictures are shocking in the article.
Yeah, there's a map of all the dots in Latvia of all the schools which have been turned into old people's homes.
Yeah.
So what's happening in Latvia is that the birth rate is falling. And in Latvia now, do you know that there's only about 1,500 births a month? About 18,000 births in a year. So only 18,000 new people are being produced in Latvia. You know what I mean? Which is nothing. 18,000 is you get a small village in England with more than 18,000 people. Yeah. And Latvia is a whole country. So what's happening is that those schools are being turned into old people's homes, and eventually those old people's homes will become derelict. You get me? Because the old people will die. There'll be no more younger people to replace them in the homes. So that is what's happening, and that's what I've been warning Western Europe about. It's something that is going to start happening here. Now, it doesn't mean that London will suddenly become a zombie town, or Manchester or Birmingham, and probably even Coventry, but the depopulation is going to start happening to certain parts of the UK. You know, there's certain smaller towns, smaller places, and you're going to see it by things like, the football clubs.
Yes,
they're going to go bust. Yeah, and this country's football is a religion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if a football club goes bust,
yeah,
you know what I mean? You think, wow, that town's it's had it. You know what I mean? You can say, oh, churches, being turned into flats or hotels or whatever. Yeah, but I think football is a bigger religion than Christianity in this country, in the UK. Yeah. And it's a worrying sign, because if football clubs are going bust here, I mean, what's happening here is probably 20, 30 years from what is happening in Latvia right now. You know what I mean? It's not that it's suddenly going to start happening here, but we have also shot ourselves in the foot with the whole, making it difficult for immigrants to come here and all that, because the UK as well has a birth rate of less than 2.1. We're on about 1.75, between 1.6, 1.75. So we're not producing enough babies in this country as well. And that is going to start being borne out by the facts in places like Coventry. Like Coventry, that article you read, right?
Yes.
There's an excess amount of school places, but not enough kids to fill it.
Exactly. It's weird.
And when you see a medium-sized place like Coventry isn't a little village, right? It's a medium-sized city. It's one of the it's not one of the big cities of the UK. Like, it's not London or Birmingham or Manchester or, etc. But they're already starting to experience that, where they've got an abundance of school places and not enough kids to fill it. You know what I mean? So
I find it fascinating, like really weird. Like, that's why I thought I've got to get this brother on the show, man. I thought it's look. Let me hit you with another.
Sure.
Another. Is it like a left hook on this?
Yeah,
right?
no.
Yeah, your language, boxing language, right? Yeah. There's a guy called Ronald Roskins, a New World Order globalist pushing an NWO population-controlled eugenics agenda. Under Bush and Roskins' watch, he was caught illegally sterilizing 20 million black women in Brazil. So they actually use the tetanus jab as part of it as well. So sure. I think, could even rather, we could be taking this down a rabbit hole now of getting censored and all the rest of that.
Easy.
But
listen, you asked me if you ask me what is the biggest thing that is contributing to population decline.
Yeah.
People like to search out theories and this guy done this and that. But it's sometimes the most obvious thing is right in front of you. And what is contributing, in my opinion, right? I'm not trying to say everything I say is the gospel truth. It's not that. I'm not that type of person. I'm always willing to engage in debate, in sensible debate. But for me, the clear thing is this: there is wealth. There is a pot of money or pot of wealth in this world, and more of it is being siphoned off by the 1% or the 0.1%. Yeah. And so that means if you take a cake and you take it and you give it to one person, but there's 100 people in the room. But when you look at that tray on that cake where they've taken the cake, there's still crumbs, right? And you say to the 100 people, all right, well, you guys have got to make do with the crumbs.
Wow.
That is, I mean, you can say that this guy Roscoe went to Brazil and he sterilized 100 women. But for me, the biggest thing is economics. The biggest factor for population decline is economics, because people would have kids if they had more money in their pockets. They would have more kids, right? Yeah. It's personally, if I'm going to bring a child into this world, and I can't look after it, I won't have the child. You know what I mean? I'm not going to just bring a child into this world and say at 5 years old, hey, little, or even like, let's say from 6 months old, hey, little buddy, it's you against the world. Good luck. You know what I mean? Because I mean that's my mentality, but I think that's a mentality of a lot of people, especially women. I think that women are much more kinder people than men in general, right? And I think that when a woman has a child, she wants to make sure that it's protected, it has enough financial resources, it has a roof over its head, food to eat. And if that is not possible, then a woman's going to think, well, I don't think I'm going to have that child. You know what I mean? Or have a child in the first place. And the reason that this whole thing is happening is that, you, like I said, you can make these like fantastical theories of new world order and etc., but it comes down to economics. It comes down to the pure economics.
Hard cash, yeah. Money.
Yeah, offshore accounts. I mean, Warren Buffett said something like, I pay less as a tax rate than my cleaner. And Warren Buffett's a billionaire. Yeah, so if his cleaner, he's not saying he pays less tax in pure, money terms, but he might only be paying 2%, whereas his cleaner is paying 10%, for example. That's what he's saying. He's saying 10% of his cleaner's earnings, or her or him, is going towards the tax, but only 2% of my earnings is going towards tax. But here's the thing: what's his cleaner earning in a year? £20,000.
Yeah.
If they're lucky, what is he earning?
Yes.
What is it? £20 million a year, or probably more than that. And he's only paying 2% of that in tax, whereas the cleaner's paying 10%, or in tax.
Of course.
And that is the thing. There are factors. Look, women's emancipation. Women are more like now want to do careers and not start families, and that's fair enough. It's absolutely every human being's prerogative to do what they want to do. But you start doing things like that. So if a woman starts doing her career and not worrying about the family, if contraception and things like that, that all adds to it. But the biggest thing is that these factors are all tiny factors compared to the one thing that there is an elite in this world that are siphoning off more of that cash offshore, offshore accounts, not paying the tax, and various other corrupt methods and everything, and that's what's contributing to it. I believe the most. Yeah.
Brilliant, bro. I got messages coming in from Mike. Right, here we go. Okay. There's an impression of too many people, right? That's an impression, right, of overpopulation, right? Which I think makes humans naturally develop the thought of, I don't want to have any more kids to sort of add to this population as the planet is full. Similar to the mouse experiments. I think that's interesting. He says he wants out of London by mid 2022, which is which is a good idea. There's 2-bedroom flats up north going for 48 grand, which will be around 220k in London. The attractiveness of cities is a big problem because people are attracted to the city life, and you need to earn vastly more in a city. So it's interesting. So I think Mike wants out of the city, and he definitely agrees the fact that people that live in rural areas, obviously you want to settle down and actually raise a family over there. But over here in London, we're living the rat race where people don't have time to have families. I know people in the Punjabi community. There's plenty of they get into like 45, 47. They never had time to have a family because they went into a high-powered career. There was and even when they did, things fell apart. So even when they tried, because they're always glued to their job at Goldman or whatever they're doing, whether it's working in a fund or whether it's working as a corporate lawyer, what have you. So I think it's very, very interesting what he said. See, regarding the Coventry issue as well, I thought the guys literally bought the issue straight home, straight to our doorstep. It's all one thing saying, "Oh, the Ukraine, it's all the way over there." But the way you did it with the article on LinkedIn, I thought, "What?" I thought, "No way," and I thought to myself, "It's shocking." So, what do you think could be what could be done to help up this is it 1.72 birth rate thing?
Yeah, well, yeah, but I think it's between 1.6, 1.75. I think
Yeah.
we'll get a lot more once the census is done in a couple of months. And I really applaud countries that do the census, because you must know what the how much population you have within your country, the breakup of ethnicities, and what people do as jobs. It's such a valuable piece of data to present every 10 years, because we had the last one in 2011 in the UK. Now we're going to have one in 2021. Listen, I was see, a lot of people were laughing me out of town in the Brexit referendum. I was a keen Remain supporter.
Yeah.
And people were, doing these theories. Oh, but they're unelected bureaucrats, and they're this and they're that. And, I'm not going to say that the European Union is a perfect organization. It has faults. Everything has faults. There's no such thing as perfection in this world.
Yes.
You see the battle now with advanced nations, wealth nations like the UK, like America, like Canada, like Germany, like France, and like China. I've got, there's a lot I know about, a lot of research I've done into China. The battle now is going to be over enticing immigrants, because
for labor,
that is what the next battle is. And I said at that time, listen, there is population decline happening in Eastern Europe, and it wasn't being brought up as an issue. Nobody, and the people I mentioned it to were laughing me out of town. They go, what do you what is this you're talking about? What is population decline? I said, listen, it's only everyone's got their head in the sand. It's going to get worse. It's going to get worse. And now, with me mentioning it, and other journalists, I'm not a journalist, but journalists looking at it, you'll find all this population decline in Eastern Europe articles all throughout Google and everything, and they're only coming to the light now. But this was something I was experiencing. I said, listen, what's happening in the East is going to start happening here, right? I'm not saying London is suddenly going to become deserted, but do you know, this year, since the pandemic started, London has lost 700,000 to its population. It is the worst population.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, London's population has fallen by 700,000. That is the worst fall in population since World War II. And the whole United Kingdom has lost 1.3 million people since the pandemic started. The majority of that, in this case, isn't down to birth rates and death rates. Yeah, even though 15% more people have died because of COVID, if you look at the last 5 years average. So many people who immigrants, especially from Europe, just up sticks and left. Now, a lot of these immigrants, people say, oh, if they're Polish, they must have gone to Poland, or if they were Lithuanian, they must have gone to Lithuania. A lot of these people didn't actually go to Poland or Lithuania. They ended up going to Germany, to France, to Spain, to Italy, right? So what we've lost, Germany has gained. France has gained, Italy has gained. Do you know, this year, since the pandemic started, or let's say the year of 2020, we are the top of losing population. We lost 1.3 million. Russia lost 510,000. Poland lost 130,000 of its population. And Germany lost 40,000 from its population. You get me? If Germany had done a Grexit or Brexit, whatever they done, similar to us, and Germany would have lost more people than us. They would have lost more than 1.3 million people. The battle is going to be, we've got to entice as immigrants, because all of our countries, all in Western Europe, nobody is producing enough babies to compensate for those who are departing the sea, so to speak, those who are dying. So us doing this Brexit thing and making immigration harder we've shot ourselves in the foot. We really have, because our economy, everything was being propped up by new young energetic blood coming into our countries, doing the jobs that we just can't fill. I mean, you look at the NHS now. The NHS has a vacancy of 120,000 vacancies in the NHS. Why are they not getting filled? Why are the domestic population not filling them? There's a range of reasons. one of them is that there isn't enough people.
Yeah.
You know, there is enough people, but people in their 60s and 70s and 80s aren't going to start filling those,
Yeah.
you know, those, you know, if you're a nurse and you yourself need to be nursed, you aren't going to, you know what I mean? You're not going to feel, but the people, the freedom of movement allowed people from Lithuania, from Poland, from not just these, even from Western Europe, from Germany, from Spain, they were coming in and they were filling these roles. And we've shot ourselves in the foot. And people say, oh yeah, but they can, they can get a visa now and come. But listen, if you're in Poland or in Lithuania or in Bulgaria, are you going to spend money on a visa to come to the UK, to go through extra paperwork, and to, at the end of the day, not be able to settle here full time or buy property, or what, you know, the complexities and difficulties of doing all that?
Yeah.
Or are you going to think, well, in the UK I can earn 2,000 and in Germany I can earn 1,900 a month?
Yeah.
You're going to think, and I can go to Germany, no ifs, no buts, no nothing. I can just rock. All I need is a plane ticket or a coach ticket, rock up in Germany and start working in Starbucks or in the hospital or cleaning toilets or picking fruit or being a scientist or whatever it is that they do.
Yeah.
Or I have to go through all these layers of bureaucracy to get to the UK. What do you think is going to happen?
Look at the easier option.
The people of Europe,
yeah,
they're not going to come. So then we've shut the door on them.
Yeah.
And then we're saying, you know, what's happening especially in the right wing media and things. It's like all these Africans, Asians, we got to look at them coming in Dover. So you know, you don't want them coming. You don't want the Europeans coming. So who do you want to come? Okay, maybe the Americans, the Canadians, the Australians, the New Zealanders. But do you think that they're going to come here? Do you think they're going to leave their sunny countries or their countries with lots of land and big houses and everything to come here? You know what I mean? They're not. So it's one of those. It's like, you know, what do you do? At least the Europeans were coming here. They were filling the roles. They were keeping our economy afloat. They were paying tax. They were actually putting more into our tax system than they were taking out. Yeah. So they were making our country richer. You know what I mean? So the points-based system that we have now, that is not the solution. So people don't look at the UK for the solution of how to do that. But essentially, this is my take on it. The battle for population in Eastern Europe, it's gone. It's done. You are not. There's nothing you can do, because these populations have been these birth rates and everything have been falling for 30 years since 1991. You know, you can't put a gun to a woman's head and say, all right, you're going to have 4 kids. Yeah. It doesn't work that way. You know what I mean? A woman, if you start threatening a woman, she's just going to leave the country or, you know, report you to the police or whatever she's going to do. But we in the West now, we might as well take the labor from the East, the people, you know what I mean? Because our society is based on what our society is based on. So what happens to the East? Look, electric cars are coming in, greener enviro policies are coming in. Things like oil and natural gas, they're going to lose value in time. You know what I mean? Because less people are going to use petrol in their car, petrol or diesel. And what is going to become a valuable commodity is food. Good quality food, you know, not the fake food that's grown in labs. And I'm talking about the good natural. Eastern Europe has got lots, especially Ukraine has got lots of agricultural fertile land. We can become a source of, you know, like how the Saudis have oil. Yes. We can become the food Saudis, you know what I mean? The food, you know, in the same sort of context. We can feed our people in the West from the East, right? Yes. We can then export the food out into the Asia. You know, and these countries are going to start having droughts and, you know, and all that. We will hold power with this very important commodity. Number two, as these places empty and there's more rural land, we can turn these places into rural metropolises, right? So, you know, we got in central London, we've got, you know, nice cobbled streets and, you know, nice buildings and, you know, these kind of things. We can have that there, but without any concrete, you know. So people who have mental health problems or physical ailments or all sorts of issues. They can go there. It'll be like a retreat for them to spend time with nature, eat good, wholesome, good quality food.
Wow.
That's the vision I have for Europe. That's what should be happening. Because sometimes you got to admit defeat. And in Eastern Europe, the projections are horrifying. A country like Poland, which is now 38 million, they say by like 2100 there'll be less than 15 million people there. Countries which have Latvia, and these are projections done by Emerging Europe, by the Lancet, important reputable organizations, and they're saying countries like Latvia will only have 400,000 people left there. So when you look at the projection, I put a post up on that with the projections. It looked like wow. And then as well, what I say about the aging, so that 400,000 people that's going to be left, how many of them are going to be under the age of 50, and how many are going to be over the age of 50? You know what I mean? So there could be half of them could be over 65. So 200,000 could be 65 and above, and 200,000 can be under the age of 65, which is even more horrifying, because then in the next 50 years, how many people, is going to be left? And that's the reason. You might not have to. I'm not EU, waving my EU flag type of person. I didn't go into the demos, but if we don't take care, do you know what I mean? If these countries depopulate, they're not going to have enough people in their hospitals. They're not going to have enough people in their armies, in their police, and everything. So you've got to, in the end, incorporate them all, because otherwise some of these states are going to collapse. And if we don't sort of encapsulate them in our sort of gang, in our crew, somebody else will, and that somebody else could be a China. It could be a Turkey. It could be an outside power. You know what I mean? So, that's sort of the vision, and that's why really I was a Remain supporter with my head rather than my heart. Do you get me? Do you get what I'm trying to say? And the UK government policy is totally. This thing of that they voted, the elite Brexiters voted Brexit because they did it to stop immigration. When you hear the comments of all these people like David Davis and Michael Gove, they say, "Oh, we don't care about immigration. That's not a big issue to us." So if that wasn't the issue, because that was the issue to the common Brexit supporter, so what was the issue to you? And the issue to you, from what I'm gathering, is that you didn't want the EU going into your offshore accounts, and you're protecting the people behind you who are, there's something untoward going on in that side, and it's being borne out by the policies, because we're making it harder for young, energetic, entrepreneurial people to come to the UK now. You know what I mean? I'm not saying everybody that comes is going to become an entrepreneur, but they're going to they're going to fill important gaps in our labor market. Picking food from farms, NHS, cleaning services, all sorts of, things that, we have gaps in. So that's essentially my point on that. So, you asked what the solution is. For me, it's probably a more fairer distribution of the wealth.
That's not going to happen, dude.
Yeah. That is the thing. There is no golden bullet. It's a complex issue, and there's loads of little silver bullets here and there. But the biggest golden bullet is we need a fairer distribution of the wealth. Because let's say there's an island and there is 100 bananas, right? And there's 10 people living on the island. Do you think it's fair if one person has 9 of those bananas and the other 9 people have 1 banana? Because that's what wealth is. Do you get me?
Yeah.
That's what is this is what is happening so one person on that island has 9 bananas to himself, and the other 9 have to share between 1 banana between them. You know what I mean? Now, I'm not like some communist or saying, all right, you give all your 9 to the other people, right?
Yeah.
Let's say you even keep 3. 3 is enough for you, yeah?
Yeah.
And you give the 7 to share between, if you don't start sharing out more of that wealth, then you're making this world a more perilous and dangerous place. And I think that is essentially what my experience have taught me, from the population decline in Eastern Europe to, my experiences of going out there, seeing people, meeting people, seeing what people's problems are. The people's problems, in whether it's in the UK or in Ukraine or in Russia or in Belarus or wherever, it's the same. It's essentially the same problem. We haven't got enough resources to have a sort of conducive life. Everybody is going through stress.
Trust me.
Everybody is going through issues, personal problems, etc. It's because, the money isn't shared out. And what this is doing, what this is doing to the world, is that it's evaporating humanity.
Of course. Yeah. Of course.
The biggest example of this is Eastern Europe. There are less people there now than there were in 1991. In 1991, the population was still going up. It was still increasing because, from 1991, it started to go down. And the thing about it going down, is that it isn't a regulated thing, right? It isn't that, it's going down at 2%, it will carry on going down. No, it doesn't work like that. Because when I went to that village in Bulgaria, right? Yeah. It finished off, it got more, the population decline became more vicious. Because if you down to your last 20 old people left, right? Then the hospital closes nearby because there's not enough young people to man the hospital. Then the old people need, they need hospital care, they need social care, and there's no young people left. Suddenly they die off earlier than they should have done, right? And that's what happens, and that's what's happened. I mean, we live in a capitalist on steroids society. That's what I like to term it as.
Wow.
There's nothing wrong with capitalism. There's nothing wrong with wanting to work hard and making money. And I'm not knocking people for for working hard and having more. That's not what I'm. I'm not a Leninist kind of figure on that. But I'm saying, from what I've seen, is that this capitalism steroids have been injected into this, and the greed has got worse, and the greed filters down from the top. Because if you are a guy, let's say you're at the top and you forsake payment to the person on below you, so you owe someone £1,000 below you, and you don't pay them. Guess what that person who's got 10 workers below him is going to do? He's going to say, sorry, I haven't got the money to give you £100 each. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or, £10 each, whatever. And then it'll filter down. So that person then, who's at the bottom rung of the ladder, hasn't got enough money and thinks, well, I'm not going to have children. Or I can't have 2 children or 3 children because I've only got enough money for 1 child. And you see, it's filtering up from the top. It's the greed at the top, and it's filtering down to the common man who owns a farmhouse or who lives in a basic apartment or man and woman or human being. And that is the biggest thing. It's that is the biggest thing of what is happening in the world. And if I just stayed in London, or if I just gone to America or Canada, I wouldn't have appreciated it. I wouldn't have experienced it. I would have just learned it from a textbook or a article on Google or something.
Yeah.
But I've actually experienced it. I've actually lived it. I've actually seen villages evaporate. You know what I mean? Every year, something like 1,600 villages in Ukraine they mark it off the map. Something like that. Wow. Is it 160 or 6? Don't quote me on the fact. I'll have to research it. But something staggering like that. Those places you won't even find them on Google. And whereas I've traveled to those villages, I've been to those. We call them ghost villages, right?
Wow.
It was once teeming with life, with excitement, with birthdays and celebrations and laughter, and it's gone. It's gone. You know what I mean? And my warning to the Western Europe, and maybe North America and Canada, is look at Eastern Europe and look at it as a warning. You know what I mean? Look at it as a warning, because we're not at that stage yet. But parts of Western Europe are, like I said, inland Spain and Italy. Look at it as a warning, and we need debate. We need fresh ideas, solutions. I can't give you. I can give what I think might be the solutions, but this is a bigger problem than just what I can deal with. You know what I mean? I can't. I'm not a messiah that can say, yeah, we need to do this, that. I can give certain things which I think, but this needs like the educated youth, the sort of the sort of philosophers,
Yes,
the sort of
yes.
economists. It needs everyone to come together. But until we don't acknowledge the problem, we are never going to come to a solution. You know what I mean? So I urge people, come out east, come out and see the empty land, come out and experience it. And even if you don't want to take it on politically, or you don't want to take it on as a cause, just come out and just experience it as a holiday. You know what I mean? Because there's only so many times we can go to Benidorm and Las Vegas and Dubai. You know what I mean? These places are sort of surreal, sort of surreal cities. You know what I mean? They're sort of artificial in a sense. I'm not knocking it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying, oh, it's evil and gambling is bad. As you wish, do as you wish. But you know what? Come see the other side of life as well. Come see the places where there's no roads. Or the roads that exist, there's potholes in them, or there's dilapidated cottages, or there's one man living in a village all by himself, and he's 68 and he's still growing his tomatoes or whatever he's growing and whatnot. Come see that, and you get a more 360 vision of life. You get more rounded picture of life. You know what I mean? That's essentially my message. And that's what I say. So yeah.
What a superb message. Now let me chuck in my 2 rupees over here. Right. Now I've worked in the security industry before radio for 20 years, all the way from the most roughest doors to looking after ultra high net worth individuals such as private equity and hedge fund people and stuff like that. So
yeah.
Also, there was a time where I worked at London Stadium as a supervisor there on security and searches and all the rest of that for all the Premiership football matches and big music events and stuff a couple of years back. And what I've got to say is the people which come over from other countries, they're the ones which are willing to do the work which the people which are born here will not do. And I know because when you go down that ramp and you're underground everywhere, I know the skin color of the people there, which are standing there. And if they weren't working, they're from different countries and stuff. If they didn't come to work, those football matches wouldn't even be happening. You'd hardly have any security there. They wouldn't reach the quota, the numbers to let it go ahead for the contract. So I think they have the UK's shot itself in the foot regarding that. They do need to look at other European countries which have taken the uptake of the labour. That's important as well. What else was I going to say? There is no golden bullet, and it's going to be very, very difficult to make these people with a heart of stone, if they have a heart at all, they're suddenly not about to redistribute the wealth. And even if they are, they would do it some sort of through some of their crooked foundations where there's most likely an ulterior motive anyway. It's funny how mainstream media is not really delving. It's a very serious thing. Mike Bell said before he left, he said, look, he goes, both in London, both people, in a relationship have to work, so that they don't have time to raise a family. They have to get out there rurally. So even for myself, let's say I wanted to come to Ukraine, and let's just buy some land and we'll start a brand new life there. Is it possible? Is it a massive culture change?
Yeah, I mean, if you, well, yeah, to buy land is, you see, like I said, there's chalk and cheese between an EU country and a non-EU country. So for you to like, firstly, you can't buy agricultural land
Yeah.
over there. So if you buy a farmhouse with a plot of land where you're selling growing vegetables, you can't sell it for commercial. It's for your own consumption. Yeah,
Yes.
you can get away with give some to your neighbors, but you can't profit from it. So that's the first thing. It's a complicated process with Ukraine, with Belarus, with Russia, because uh, them not being in the EU, the buying situation is a lot more complicated. Whereas if you were to buy in Bulgaria or Romania or Poland, or because they're in the EU, it's a lot more, you know, it's a lot simpler process. So, and these countries are, they're going through population decline,
Yeah.
same as Ukraine, maybe on a lesser level, but still, they're still going through a population decline. So that's the first thing. I wouldn't advise, unless you sort of kind of, you've got to have a sort of a bit of steel about you to go and buy in
Yeah.
Ukraine. But so that's the first thing. And when I say EU and non-EU, there's 6 countries in the Balkans:
Yes.
Serbia, Montenegro. Now these countries, they are much more along the way to becoming EU members, especially Montenegro, which has the euro as its currency, which is part of NATO. So if you're looking to maybe buy something, maybe to and see that an investment go up quite quickly, you look at maybe one of those West Balkan 6, because as soon as they join the EU, the value of your property is gonna, there's gonna be a big jolt for it
Yeah.
upwards.
Yeah.
So that's one of those things. But yeah, I mean, look, everyone is at the end of the day, you can go and buy land in Eastern Europe. It's not going to cost you anything like it does in the UK.
Yes.
It'll be much cheaper. You can build your house there. I mean, finding builders and all that might be a bit of a tricky issue. And yeah, why not? You could have it as your sort of second, or like a holiday home sort of scenario. It's not it's why not? You know what I mean? Why not? But definitely look into the laws of the country, look into finding a good solicitor, make sure that that land, once you've paid the money, is actually yours. Like you don't want it to be nicked and all that. But yeah, that's all possible. Yeah, why not? Everyone's got their ambitions and dreams, and everyone's ambitions and dreams are always a bit different. Some people want yachts, some people want supercars. Me, I just wanted a plot of land in the countryside that I could afford, and I did it. I achieved my dream, I achieved my aim, and achieved my dream. And I've grown my vegetables and plants out there, and I have a great time. Just hoping this pandemic goes and the international travel can resume like as normal, so I can fulfill my dream, carry on fulfilling my dream of being out there. But yeah, like to mention about people, I'll give you a good statistic.
Yeah.
Today 20% of British women aged 45 or over have 0 kids. 20%. Now a few years ago that figure was 5%, then it was 10%, then it was 15%, and now it's 20%. So 1 in 5 British women who are, when I say age of 45, that is like the childbearing age. Like after 45, very few women have children. So 45 is that, 18 to 45 is the sort of childbearing age that they call it. Yes, some women have children before 18 and some past 45, but they're tiny. But 1 in 5 British women age 45 and over living in Britain, and British, I mean, of all colours and persuasions and everything.
Yes.
Have 0 kids. You know what I mean? So this is an issue. I mean, when we look back on it, it was the immigration from, as you were saying, with the security guards and everything.
Yeah.
Immigration has propped up this country. It's in a sense, it's managed the decline, because there is a decline, here, because like I said, America's going up, China's going up, India's going up. We are trying to maintain our position as the 5th or 6th biggest economy. You could say, some people say India is the 5th and we're the 6th. Some people say the other way around. But without the immigration, we're going to plummet. We are going to plummet as an economy, and an economy reflects the nation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What the poorest country in Europe is Moldova, right? And Moldova is the country which is losing its population quicker than any other European country. You know, it's losing 2% of its population per year, and Moldova is the poorest country, so it's losing the most people, and it's the poorest. That's a reflection on society. An economy is a reflection of the society. You know what I mean? If your economy is down below, right, it's either because, you know, the investment hasn't been there, but in the case of Eastern Europe, it's because you're losing people. You know what I mean? It equates to the same thing. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, I agree with you totally on the security front, on not just the security front, but all the fronts. Like, a lot of people who were immigrants were filling gaps in the labor market that the native population didn't want to do. And I include myself in the native population because I'm born here, I'm British.
Yes.
And there's jobs I wouldn't do. Like, I'm not thinking they're beneath me, but like, you know, I've got an education, I worked hard, I've got to, you know, I'm not going to do those jobs unless it's, you know, life and death. I have, you know, to provide food and everything. But these people, you know, bless them as well, came over and they worked their socks off, you know what I mean? And you got to salute them for it. So, yeah.
I'm going to give another angle on it. Number one, talk radio. Yesterday, I saw this thing on YouTube where basically people skilled in, because of the current climate, skilled in certain professions, they're even applying to be scaffolders for a firm, which is mad. So somebody which could have been a nurse. They're so desperate to keep the roof over the head. Secondly, now regarding a possible pushback or a way just to, you know, go give them the old 1-2 to the elite. This is something that touches my heart as well. Those people which do come to work these shifts, a lot of them, the bosses, you'll have main contractors, subcontractors, more subcontractors, all the way down to you actually end up with the person doing the bloody work, right? So the person doing the work, right, that person needs to have a standard to say, I'm not working for less than a certain rate over here, because what you're doing by agreeing to work for a lesser rate, you're stopping the next man or woman, you know, asking, working at a certain rate. So let's say years ago, you know, this is shocking, but this is the truth. I was working for a president of a country, and back then I was on £7.50 an hour. So you explain to me, how can you be working for people which are earning £110 million a week, and being on that? It's all contractors and subcontractors, so people are being exploited. And so that's how the rich stay rich, because they're claiming, you know, whatever it is, 18, 20 quid an hour to have that one person there in the mansion. And then that'll filter down. But we have to, rather than be desperate to take the work.
It's like a big chocolate cake, and by the time it gets down, it's like a little crumb. You know what I mean?
Yes,
that is what has been happening in our society. Some people could say maybe forever, but certainly in recent history, that is what is happening, and definitely, you know, since the 90s, you know, definitely, because, you know, capitalism won the ideological debate with communism. So definitely since 1990, 91, you know, and, you know, there was a famous British author called John le Carre. And he wrote a lot of spy novels and everything. And he said, now that we've defeated the evils of communism, we have to now battle the excesses of capitalism. And I just thought that's such. I mean, I don't know if it was word for word that quote, but
that's good. That
was such a you know, such a poignant, insightful thing for a person to say, because he was, I mean, he was, you know, obviously older than we are, and he had seen the Cold War and everything. We were born as the Cold War was ending. We were kids at that point. So, but you see, it all comes down to balance. You know, you can't, you know, total communism wasn't, it lost the debate. Yeah. So we can't have a system that is total communism, but the excesses of capitalism, what I call capitalism on steroids, society that we live in,
Wow.
it needs to be tackled. It needs to be tackled, and it needs solutions, and it needs voices from different backgrounds. It needs voices from different ethnicities and races, because this is the biggest challenge of our lifetime, and we aren't going to tackle it if we just hear it from, John 45 from Cambridge.
Yeah,
We
exactly.
need to hear it from Saeed 22 from Hackney. We need to hear it from Syra, 18 from Peterborough. We need to hear it from Sanjay. We need to hear it from Eastern Europeans. We need to hear it from everybody. Needs to come to the table, and we need to eventually make a consensus of how we can run our society better. Because right now what's happening is that we are declining as a society, as a world, because, like I said, the 0.1 or 1%, however you want to frame them, are taking more and more of the wealth, and there's less left for the rest of us, and we are fighting each other now over crumbs. What I mean? While they get the chocolate cake, and they don't need that. They don't need to. They don't. I would, if I brought a cake tomorrow from Tesco, wherever, I'm not going to be able to eat that whole cake. You know what I mean? I share it with my family.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And that's what it comes down to. It's about, come on, just be more. You know what I mean? If you got a super yacht, do you need another 7? You know what I mean? You don't. If you got a helicopter, do you need another 7? I mean, if I got given £1 billion, right? Someone just won a lottery or whatever. Honestly, I would employ someone that would distribute most of that money out to the people. I can live simply. I need food, I need water, and I'm a teetotaler, by the way. So I actually need less than what I don't do alcohol and drugs, and so I need less than what people need. But I'm a minimalist. I don't believe in jewelry. I don't wear watches, or that's just who I am. That's my character. You know what I mean? Yeah. So everyone will be different. So I don't want to try and homogenize humanity and say, oh, just because I can live like this, you can't. But there comes a point where what is enough? You know what I mean? If you've got 7 mansions, and the people that are working for you are wondering whether they should heat their house or feed their kids, or what they're trading off between that.
That's bad.
That is, it's not it's not a moral and just society, and the problems aren't going to get better. That, mark my words, they're not going to get better. And I know it because I've lived in the region, the biggest declining region in this world. I've lived there, I've seen it, I've experienced it, and I'm not trying to blow my own trumpet or whatever, but the problems that are happening there, it's going to start spreading. You know what I mean? It's going to start spreading. You know what I mean? And there's only a certain amount of things you can brush under the carpet.
Yeah.
You can brush some dust. You can some little stones and everything. But when you have to, you can't brush dead bodies under the carpet. You can't brush, big things. Heartache and stress and eventually everything under the carpet is going to explode.
Yeah, that's
it's going to come out.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So this way society is going, it's happening. It's like a slow moving car crash.
But
that's the best way to describe it. It's a slow moving car crash.
That's deep.
Yeah,
man.
so
that's deep, bro.
Yeah.
That's deep, man. Put it this way, look, I think what you've done, right? It's fair to say that the system is rigged against the working man to keep him where he is. Yeah. Now we know that as the Punjabi community, we knew that from time ago, and so therefore we're entrepreneurs. We're entrepreneurs. So at the end of the day, that is like a way of sort of bypassing some glass ceilings which have been put there.
Yeah.
That's one thing. The second thing, I know trying to phase out traditional currency, but if you was to put a tracking device on a 50 quid note, watch how long that tracking device, if you keep that note within your community, that would have been a major threat to the banking system. See.
Yeah.
So if so let's say you'd go to your bakers or whatever it is, and not even
Yeah.
about race or religion. Let's look at your locality. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So therefore, you still keep businesses functioning. I feel you scared me. I'll be honest, right? You scared me. The
Yeah.
flip side of it is I've got many friends, which I'm 40, which are my age, and they're trying for children and they can't have children.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 At the same time, then I actually said to the brother, I go, brother, what do you think it really is? What do you think it really is? And he can't give me an answer. And so
Yeah.
I thought exactly. I go, so
I think once you start getting into that, in your 40s, you sort of your life you sort of get used to your life. I think yeah, I'm not listen. Everyone moves at different paces.
100.
So I mean, there's people who have achieved their aims, like they bought their house at 25,
Yeah.
whereas someone bought their house at 35. There is no right or wrong answer. That's the first thing to say. And if people want to have kids and it's not happening, sometimes it might be that they've just got used to their life, and
Yeah.
it's kind of. And another thing I think people should look at maybe is like adopting and things like that, because there's loads of kids in orphanages around the world. I mean, I've seen it in Ukraine, but it's everywhere. I mean, in India there's loads. And so if you can't have your own biological child, maybe look into adopting. I'm not saying that is everyone should do that, because you've got to it's not a decision. It's not like, am I going to buy a strawberry ice cream or a vanilla ice cream or something like that. It's not like a snap decision like that. It's kind of like you're going to have to sit down with your partner and everything. So that's something I would suggest in terms of that, in terms of kids. But there comes a point in your life where like I said, 60 and 70-year-olds aren't going to start thinking, if they've never had kids at 60 and 70.
Yeah.
There also comes a point where you say age is a number. It's what's that saying? Age is not just a number, or age isn't just a number. But sometimes it does get to that point where if I'm 70 tomorrow and I've not had a kid, chances are I'm not going to have a kid. You know what I mean? Because it's just my time has passed to do that. And you can say in other things. I love boxing. I've been doing boxing for a while. I'm now in my mid-30s. I'm not going to become a professional boxer now. My time has passed. You kind of got to accept that in life as well, and sort of not be depressed by that. But you're just in a different phase of life. You're not 18 anymore.
Yeah.
So. But for some people, it's harder to deal with than others. Some people they want to be back when they were 18. You know what I mean, and all that. And sometimes I look back and I say, man, the stupid decisions I done back then. I'm happy now where I'm at right now. You know what I mean? The experiences that I have, the way I can talk, the way I can express myself I'm happy. You know what I mean? I'm happy. Yeah, you have your bad days, you have your good days, and you can't say, no one can say that they're happy all the time. Yes. But I would say I'm content. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that's essentially it. I think a lot of people have inner demons, inner problems, and everything. And I really suggest to people, not from a political point of view, which what I've been saying in this conversation today, but just just take a break. Okay, right now I know with COVID and everything, but I'm not saying necessarily come to Ukraine. Wherever, just go to a place where it's peaceful and serene. There's plenty of places in the UK like this, and I haven't really discovered my own country that well. I'm a southerner. I'm London. Yeah, okay. I went to uni for 3 years in Birmingham, but there's loads of Peak District, Lake District.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I need to. I probably need to go and spend some time there. We all need time for self-reflection. We all need time away from the noise. That's what I say.
Trust me. Yeah. So my bro, so it's ironcurtainadventures.com, IronCurtainBoxing.com. Now, I've seen some photos on your website of some guys that were very cold in the ice, and I thought,
Oh,
oh my god! I thought, so did you ask him to, you threw him in the water and he clicked with the camera, or
yeah, no, I mean, no, that's what I've been doing out there as well. I mean, when it was -25, -30, I was swimming in the lakes. You know what I mean? It's and you know what, it's beautiful for the skin. I'll tell you that. Forget all the oil of Ulay and all these cosmetics. You spend time in that cold water, it'll take all the wrinkles away. It will. Is nature at its best. It really is. Running in the snow, swimming in the lakes. There's a I'm not sure if it's the Orthodox Christian festival or it's more of a pagan. Rodnovery is the pagan sort of religion that came before Christianity out there. But it's a thing called Epiphany. It happens in about February. I believe it might be February 19th, where everybody in Ukraine and in Russia, they go out and dip themselves in the cold water. And this winter's been exceptionally cold. So it's like in some parts in Russia, it's like -50. And in some parts it's like -20 and -25. So imagine you're just in your, as a man, you're just in your boxers or swimming trunks, and women just in your bikini or whatever, swimsuit, and you just go and dip yourself in that. I mean, that is
saying you're crazy, man.
I tell you, I've put on a little bit of weight since the pandemic, but when I'm out there, I'm fit as a fiddle. Doing all that stuff, it really, I tell you, it regulates the blood around your body. Afterwards, you feel healthy. Yeah, you're gonna be like this, like that, shivering,
exactly,
like, But this is the other thing I say about it. It's very spiritual, because when you have swum in the frozen lakes like I did, and I wasn't just dipping myself in. I mean, I was swimming. I do butterflies every day when I'm in the UK, but now the gym's closed, obviously. Hence why I put on a little bit of weight. But when you, after that cold, that intense, brutal cold, when you go into a warm room after that, do you know what you feel like? You feel like you won the lottery. You feel like the luckiest man, the richest man. That sort of spirituality of being from intense, brutal cold to heat, it puts life in perspective. Because, I have seen people out there, homeless people that are frozen to death. We think, like the whole, I don't want to, the whole Kissan thing, the whole thing, people sleeping in cold. Yeah, I don't want to detract from that. It's horrible what they've gone through. Yeah. But how cold did it get there? +5, maybe +6, +7. In Ukraine, in the night, it's got to -25, -30. And these people aren't doing it. This is their life. They got no choice. They have to sleep in that cold without shelter and everything. And I've woken up the next morning and I thought, oh, nice heating, put on my double jacket. I'm going to go for a nice breakfast now. And there's a dead body there.
No way.
Because in -25, -30, if, as tough as those people are, and believe me, they are tough people to go through, and you see that and you just think, wow. So for me, it's a spiritual thing when I have gone from that intense cold, swimming in the lake, and I go in the heat, and I just think to myself, wow, I'm the luckiest man in the world right now. You know what I mean? Because, like, winning the lottery right now would mean nothing, because I've got what I need. I got the heat. That's all I need right now. You know what I mean? It's like, that's what I wanted to do with this company. It's like basic. It's, to appreciate the basics of life. You know what I mean? And so we welcome people for the boxing. Come in the winter, next winter, hopefully, touch wood, flights will resume and everything. Come and experience the cold. Come and run in the snow. You don't have to swim in the lake. That's taking it to another level. And we don't want our clients dying on us and all that. But come and experience that, and then put your life's problems in perspective. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, my next door neighbor's got a Ferrari or a BMW, and I've only got a Mini or something like that. You think, what a load of irrelevance. Who cares if he's got that or she's got that or he's got that? I've just been to -30 and I've got heat, and I'm the luckiest person alive right now. You know what I mean?
Alive, yeah.
And that's the essence, that's the ethos of what I wanted to do with this company. I wanted to give it to the world, give to the world this spirituality, this sort of putting your problems in perspective in a part of the world that not many people travel to and not many people will understand. Well, so that's what Iron Curtain Boxing is about, and Iron Curtain Adventures is about. Yeah, if you're less into the boxing and the sporty side, come and do an adventure. You don't have to run and all that, but just come and experience life. You know what I mean?
I think that's more me.
Yeah. I understand. Yeah.
Look. On your Instagram page, right, for Iron Curtain Boxing, there's a video of the guy training and he's doing this thing with a tire and all the rest of that. And I thought, this is proper Ivan Drago, crazy sort of training, man.
Yeah.
So which is brilliant. What I did want to ask you about, I'm very interested in this Siberian Sasquatch thing.
Yeah, that's I'll tell you something. Since lockdown, I just really I was on what do you call it? Amazon Prime and Netflix. And I'd seen a bit of the Sasquatch stuff before, but it's one of them ones where you just think, it's probably, but I got into it. Like I really got into it, and it surprised me. It was like in the evenings I would like, I'm going to watch this Sasquatch program and that one. And some of them were rubbish. Like, they were just, and I mean, this would be mind blowing for humanity if there was a sort of in between sort of ape and human type species that are still alive.
That's what my in-laws said about me.
Yeah, and I mean that it would be mind blowing from humanity, but from an adventure point of view as well, is just to be out in the outdoors in the forest trying to look for this thing, because too many people have seen this thing. I'm not talking about in London, but you go into North America and Canada and America.
Yeah,
too many people have seen this creature. And I wanted to do an adventure where people are out in the outdoors. That's why we put in the website, you're not guaranteed to see a Sasquatch, because scientists and all that haven't proven it. But just to be out in the outdoors, and if you happen to see something like it, it would be life changing. You know what I mean? To see a creature that lives out there, and the spirituality of it, like this creature that may live, that may exist, does all that it can to avoid humanity. Why does it do it? If we were such perfect beings, if we were such perfect creations, people would want to flock to us.
Yeah.
But here is something that lives away from us, lives in the forests, forages, doesn't, come and order pizza on Uber Eats or Deliveroo or whatever, lives, eating natural food, lives in its own little tiny communities and all that, and is wary of humans. You know what I mean? It does its best to avoid us. So, I mean, there's a range of emotions about it. So, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that goes on with the Sasquatch in North America, right?
Yes.
So I wanted to do it in Russia, because Russia is a much bigger country.
Yeah.
So if people are having sightings in America, which is, and Canada, which are huge countries themselves, there must be something out there in Siberia. And definitely. Siberia is beautiful. I've just done a very small bit of tourism to that part of the world, to Siberia. I mean, I've spent most of my time in Western Russia. And in Siberia, I mean, I wish I'd spent more time. And I'm gonna spend time out there, especially since this pandemic has sort of focused my mind more. But it's like you see a vastness of trees and lakes and there's very few people that live there, because most of the Russian people live in Moscow and St. Petersburg and in the west, and Siberia is sort of like Asian Russia. It's not European Russia. And you go out there and I can't highly recommend a place like that. So yeah, I wanted to marry the two, being out in nature and my fascination with the Sasquatch, Siberian Sasquatch adventure, put it together, and it would be a good thing,
Could I recommend two books that may help you in your
Sure.
quest regarding this? I too do a little bit of research when I'm not doing radio and all the rest of the techie stuff. One, The Mothman Prophecies by John Keel, 1975.
Wow.
That'll
Yeah.
give you a brilliant insight. Secondly, I think it's is it Thomas something Horn, The Lost World of the Cloud Eaters. So then you can look at the giants of Kandahar, talking about a giant race.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. 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 About giants and all that. Yeah.
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 Thirdly, a book called Transylvanian Sunrise by Radu Sinamar and Peter Moon. That will talk a lot about the Bucheg Mountains in Romania and the discoveries down there, and how top level members of elite occult organizations were involved in the monatomic gold and all the rest of that. But some very, very interesting discoveries there, where the one was they found a chain attached to the floor, and as soon as the man pulled the chain, he picked it up and pulled it. He vanished. So I thought that's some fascinating stuff. So
that's in Romania, yeah.
Bucheg, near there. That's right. Yeah. So I thought that could be good. I personally will, at some point, plan to meet you in person and be with you. Hopefully, I will lose the boobs and belly a bit, and basically, because when I was young, I used to box as well. That's why my nose goes that way. I think that's why I can always smell when I'm in the passenger side. Smell the missus' perfume. So I'll be over there as well. And when they do open the gyms over here, I do want to be back at Peacock. That's a boxing gym in East London. We have in Canning Town.
They've got a great place, great reputation. Yeah.
I'll be back there getting beaten up by everyone. It's just okay. So we got IronCurtainAdventures.com, IronCurtainBoxing.com, and what's the Instagram?
We the Instagram is Iron Curtain Boxing and Iron Curtain Adventures. So I mean it's very early days with the adventures, so I haven't really put a lot of stuff on Instagram.
You need to be a vlogger, man. You got to do that as well, bro. Like,
Yeah, I know.
What's wrong with you, man?
Have you heard of Bold and Bankrupt?
Yeah, I watch him. Yeah, man.
Yeah. He's done a fantastic thing. But do you know what? The funny thing is, I've done Bold and Bankrupt. I've done what he's done on a much deeper level, because he goes to the village, and I'm not detracting from him, because he is actually a hero of mine, because his personality and everything, it just marries so well on the screen, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I've actually lived in the villages. I've lived in the winter time in the villages in Eastern Ukraine, in Russia, in Belarus, and I've had to chop wood just to keep myself warm. You know, my daily thing was chopping wood, putting in the fire, and I just didn't vlog it, because I didn't at that time, I didn't maybe see the value in it, or for me, and at that point it just became about survival. I wasn't like, oh yeah, I'm gonna show everyone, look at me, I'm like freezing, and the wood, and there's times where I did cheat, because I paid a local guy to bring me chop wood, because there's doing it every day for a city boy like me it just got too much. So I cheated a little bit, but generally I lived in the villages out there, you know what I mean? And it's such an experience. It really is, because it was me, myself, and I. Sometimes I didn't see humanity for 3 or 4 days. Wow. I didn't see another human being. Wow. And the snow would be about this high, I had to keep an axe with me, because there was a bear, wild bears and wolves.
Yeah.
But touch wood, nothing ever attacked me. And at night I was in the house. I was locked everything and all that. And some of the places where I stayed, there was no indoor toilet. So, you just have to hold it in till the morning. If you needed to go. And it was just that lifestyle of living like that. I mean, it brings layers to a human being. It just makes you.
It would do, yeah.
Yeah, and that's what we offer as it's the recluse retreat.
Noticed it, yeah, it's on the list,
Yeah, so we put you in a cottage, in a place, and we have a range of cottages. So it could be your very basic one where you have to chop wood, and there's an outdoor toilet, all the way to a relatively nice cottage where there's an indoor toilet and amenities such as gas and electricity and things like that. So, we figure it out on what you want. But the experiences I had out there, I mean, yeah, wow, it's just you just can't. Like I said, I did things out there I wouldn't have ever done, like horse riding, archery, gun shooting ranges where I think it is legal here, or I haven't looked into it here. But even things like horse riding, which was like, you look at it, it's like 50 quid an hour or something like that, and you think, now 50 quid, come on, I'm not ride a horse. Whereas over there, it's like 50p an hour or something like that, and the prices. That's another thing. You think, wow, for 50p an hour, I can do 3 hours of horse riding. You know what I mean? Or I can do horse riding every week. You know what I mean? Out in the countryside, out in the sort of in the wilderness, and all that. So yeah, I'm glad I did it, and I'm glad to this day I can hand on heart say I've never been to Las Vegas and I've never been to Dubai.
Yeah.
And I got no
plans.
If tomorrow I get struck down by lightning, and I'm moved on to the afterlife, I'm not going to regret it. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm going to say, well, you know what? Instead of Dubai and instead of Las Vegas, I was out in Ukraine, in Russia, in Belarus, in the countryside. Just living life. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Wow. My brother, is there anything else you wish to add?
Yeah, I think I'll end it with to all the people out there listening, to all humanity in general, what, live life. Tomorrow will always be a brighter day. Don't you may have problems, you may have issues, especially with this pandemic and everything, but don't give up the fight, don't give up the will to live. Don't always give things a chance. You know what I mean? Don't just sort of believe the hype, and don't just always follow the crowd. Sometimes following the crowd is the right thing to do, but sort of step back and always think, and think with your head and sort of love with your heart. You know what I mean? And don't always just sort of, don't have your destiny mapped out for you by someone else. Because their destiny is their destiny, and your destiny is going to be your own destiny. You know what I mean? So always have that sort of independence about you, and most of all, just treat people kindly and just have love in your heart. Really, yeah.
As a brother to another brother, sing to a sing, seek to a seek, bro. You are smashing it. I'm not even kidding. Like I felt scared going all the way from Wolverhampton to London. On the Tandy coach, man, but my man's chipped and made it all the way to the Ukraine. He's in Kharkiv, you know what I mean, kicking butt, boxing and that. So
thank you so much.
No, man, it's okay, my bro. Salute to you, and I hope you obviously after lockdown restrictions are over, I hope you inspire more people to get out of their comfort zone, and really live life rather than just merely exist. Really live, because we don't want to accept this as our new normal, as to we're merely alive, we're paying the mortgage, and that is it, we're furloughed. We want it to be we really lived, like the fear of being eaten by a bear. You got the axe, you know what I mean, like you have to hold your wean at the same time, your arms are hurting from chopping the wood all day. I mean, how amazing is that? That's like something we see in films. But you did it really, and you can do it on a budget. It's not gonna break the bank as well. That's another thing. I noticed that the prices are very, very reasonable, and they're practical and doable for even for the working class people like us. Yeah. Well, like me anyway. I know. So and
another key thing is it's in our continent. It's in Europe. We don't need to go out to the Peru or Machu Picchu. We don't need to go to Cambodia or Vietnam. This is our home. Europe is our home. It's our neighborhood, and everything's there. You know what I mean? It's all there. So, yeah.
Brilliant. What I'm going to do with this, obviously, it's streamed out live on on YouTube. I'm also going to extract the audio from the video and put that up on the Radiation server at the same time to be played out. It'll be around 2 in the morning for the international listeners because of the time differential as well. Because I want them to hear what you've got to say as well. Because we've got a massive listenership in India, even though we're trying to build London, but it's fine.
Oh wow.
Yeah. It's weird, but salute to you, my brother, and
Thank you, brother.
Jardi Kala.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sat Sri Akal ji.
Sat Sri Akal, Vida. God bless you, man. Janga.
All right, thanks, man.
It's okay,
Bye.
brother.